The United States Air Force launched targeted airstrikes tonight in Syria in response, according to the Pentagon, for some of these many attacks against the U.S. forces who are on the ground in Syria and on the ground in Iraq. The intent of these is to send a signal to Iran, the Pentagon said very directly, and that if they don't get the message, more may come later. We have to be very, very careful here. Now, everybody always wants to talk about being tough with Iran. And given the situation that is on the ground here, the last thing the United States needs is to get sucked into another war with Iran. Now, listen, I'm telling you, what I have been arguing since forever, actually back into the Trump administration, 3 times, Trump said that he was going to get the troops out of Syria. 3 times he was resisted from within the Pentagon and other people who are hawkish that says, no, we can't get them out of there. We have to leave them there. I argued vehemently all the way through that those troops there did nothing for American national security interests. All they were doing was basically becoming a point of vulnerability for our country. The same with the troops in Iraq. They're not there to help America's national security interests. They're doing nothing to help help keep us safe. They're helping Baghdad a little bit. The Syrian troops are helping the Syrian Democratic Forces a little bit. That's not our job. Our job is not to provide combat support to other nations, to other capitals, and to other groups around the world, especially inside Syria. That's a sovereign nation that we don't have any permission to be there, of course, but we just keep them there for no reason, except now then, the thing that I argued about in a 1945 article in July of 2021, I said that we're just leaving them there. And now that it's some point, it's possible that some of our troops could get killed, and then we're going to have to respond. And if anybody even claims that it's Iran, we end up striking Iranian targets, and then that could get us drawn into a war. And I begged the administration, get our troops out of there. Do not misuse American troops and keep them on the ground when they're not even, well, why keep them in harm's way when it's not even in the defense of any American vital national interests? Now, one of the things the Secretary of Defense said tonight was that this was, the president has no higher obligation than to keep our troops safe. Okay, I agree. That's what he should have. Leaving them on the ground there and saying we're going to send more anti-aircraft systems, sending missile strikes to hit, allegedly some of these groups that caused some of this action. That's not keeping them safe because you're keeping the troops there. They're continuing to be a point of vulnerability. Now, especially as Israel is getting ready to launch into the Gaza Strip, if Hezbollah actually gets fully involved here, and then there's going to be a large group of people in the United States suggesting that we get involved there. There's many congressmen, senators that are overtly saying we should get involved on behalf of Israel against Hezbollah if they come in from the north. Iran is saying that, hey, we don't want to get into a war. We don't want to escalate either. But if you attack us or our friends in the region, then you can't guarantee that something earthquake-like is going to happen. So really, you have the U.S. and Iran saying the same thing. We don't want an escalation, but we're ready to act if you hit our people. Well, now then, some of these Iran-backed groups are hitting our people. Now we are hitting some of the Iranian-backed people. What's going to happen next? Listen to me carefully. I get it that nobody wants to appear weak, and we, all this nonsense everybody says about, you can't appeasement. There's no appeasement here. This is not about appeasement. This is about wisdom. This is about intelligent decisions being made to protect American national security interests. And let me just point blank say, if we get sucked into a war because we refuse to withdraw those troops out of there, and all we did was keep them there, and then some get killed, and that's the casus belli to cause us to have to strike further, and that gets us drawn into a war, that will be the height of foolishness. It will be a waste of American lives. It will be failing to protect them when they had the chance. And then it's going to now cause us into a wider war where even more people are going to get killed. And we could be at war against Iran, and our interests are not served by that. They do not threaten us. Our interests are not threatened by them at all. They're not going to attack the United States because they're too weak. They're a very weak military power, but they're not without capabilities. And if we attack them, then they do have some limited capacity to hurt us bad in our interest in the region, especially in the Gulf of Hormuz, especially in some of their speedboats that they have. They can do some damage if pushed into it. As long as we don't attack Iran, they will stay deterred. But we need to get those troops out of Iraq and out of Syria so that they're out of harm's way, and that that whole vulnerability to our country goes way, way down. Because if we're not right there in their backyard, they don't have the ability to hit us. So it is time for us to be wise and not just reflexively say, we're going to be hard, we're going to hit these guys, and we have to show strength. We have to show wisdom. Much more than show strength, we have to show wisdom. And I want to see a lot more of that, because American lives are at stake here, and it's time we did the right thing. Thank you. And that's all we got for you tonight. We'll see you next time.